Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirstie Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Welcome back to The World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi, everyone.
First up, this week we have some incredible people to thank. So our regular listeners would know that we have a little call out where we ask you if you would kindly like to buy us a coffee at, and it's not spelt coffee, it's spelt ko-fi.com/theworldawaits. That's the little link in case you want to drop in a fund. But anyway, all the money that goes into there actually goes towards our production costs.
Yeah, it doesn't actually go to our caffeine addiction. Well, I have one. I don't think you even have a caffeine addiction.
No, I don't. I drink chai latte.
So it's not our caffeine, but yeah, our production costs, running the website, sound production, it's, because we do it because we love you. But it seems that we've got a couple of people that love us too. So we want to send a huge shout out to Kenny Smith, Maria Tara and Gary Honor, who are official contributees, is that a word, to our independent travel podcast. And so if you're planning a coffee anywhere in Melbourne, we can suggest you go to Haiku Japanese restaurant in Camberwell, which is Gary's son's restaurant, and buy yourself a beverage, which I have done, or lunch, which we have done as well, because we're all about sharing the love.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much to those people for contributing because, if people love travel and they want to keep listening to inspiring travel content like ours, then it makes all the difference if we can all support each other. So you probably noticed we took a little winter break because I was in Europe. Oh my God, I was just saying to Val before we started recording actually that how much I'm really struggling this time to because it's like 5 degrees in Melbourne. But and Val was also away swimming with whales in that freezing cold water somewhere.
It was very cold off the southern New South Wales coastline.
So we actually revisited some of our best interviews. So if you didn't catch the winter series, which is now officially ended, please flick back and do that because there's some really cool chats in there.
Yeah, last week's episode was all about the power of nature and hiking and what it does to our psyche. We were talking to author, travel writer and inspirational speaker Laura Waters and also Nina Karnakovsky, who was in Nepal. In fact, she's heading back over to Nepal again for her next guided tour with World Adventures, with World Expeditions. And before that, we had some of the big guns, G Adventures founder Bruce Poon Tip, and there's a reason why the room falls quiet when he speaks, and Lonely Planet founder Tony Wheeler.
He's amazing, isn't he? And he was telling you in that interview about how he only travels with carry-on. I can't believe that. Just because I could never do that. Never in my wildest dreams could I do it. We also brought back all-time favourite Kevin Maloney of Travel Guide.
Love Kevin.
I know, him and his wife Jet, who are dubbed travel snobs. But those who know him know that he's actually anything but. And the incredible Neil Rogers, who's Adventure World MD, and he's leading the pack in animal conservation.
Yeah, boom, boom. And our sound producer, Alistair, and I scoured high and low to find you the best in travel tech. So scoot on back through the episodes. You can find them all at theworldawaits.au and catch up on any that you might have missed the first time round. So before we jump into our interview this week, which is with Kirstie, my fabulous Kirstie Bedford, about her incredible trip around southern Sardinia, one of the Mediterranean's quieter islands, we're also talking about solo travel.
Yes, Sardinia, God, I'm missed so much, as I said earlier. But before we get into that, Flight Centre data shows solo travellers are now its largest category of travellers. That's amazing, isn't it? It's the largest category, with 43% of 2023 bookings made by customers going it alone. And this was a 12% increase in solo travel in just a year, with 25% of all customers solo women.
And there's a lot of reasons cited for the increase. Things like people wanting a journey of self-discovery, a feeling of independence or confidence, and the practical, like not having someone who has the same budgets or interests, losing a loved one, and many just don't want to have to fit in with another traveller. Have you ever done it, Kirstie?
Not fit in with another traveller? I don't know, probably. Yes, I have solo travelled, but nowhere extreme, just parts of South Pacific and Australia. But I haven't run off on my own or anything. No, eat, pray, love. Is that what it's called? Eat, Pray, Love. I watched the movie on the plane on the way to Italy. I watched it.
Did you?
Yes.
I read the book and then I watched the
I read
movie.
the book years ago.
And let me tell you, I actually wrote I think it was the cover story for the Sydney Morning Herald a gazillion years ago based on Eat, Pray, Love, because in that year that it came out, I had actually been to the same places. I'd been to Tuscany, I'd been to Bali, and where's the third place where she goes to find herself?
She goes to India.
Yeah, that's right. I was in the same 3 countries in the 3 years. And I did tell her I did not meet Javier Bardem, like I was like, gosh, have I met him? But I had been to all the 3 same places. I wasn't skinny by the end of it. I ate myself a second backside, especially I actually put weight on in India. But I did get engaged at the end of that year. So I was engaged to my husband because I've been back in Egypt, but it was the funniest story. But I did do loads of travel, solo travel, particularly before I was married, especially in the Middle East. And I often travel alone anyway when I'm working. So my recent trip in Oman and in Saudi Arabia before that, I was on my own. I wasn't in a press group and I was just flying solo, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's a bit different for us because when we're on for Mills, we do travel on our own a bit. But I think if my husband Dave didn't love travel as much as I did, I'd definitely be up for a solo tour, but probably somewhere pretty exotic, and then join a woman's only tour or something. But exotic isn't actually necessarily what people are actually looking for. So you might be surprised at what are some of the top solo destinations actually are. So Ubuy analysed more than 300 cities to find the best destinations for solo travellers, and it found the best city for solo travel is Taipei in Taiwan because of its high safety score, budget-friendly dining options and excellent walkability. And the survey, who doesn't love walkability in a city? And the survey cited that it has the most inexpensive restaurants costing around $6, which is one of the lowest meal costs among the top destinations. Have you been there, Belle?
Oh, I have actually. I've been to Taiwan. I was there years ago before it really opened up. And I was on a few days stopover back from Ireland. It's an amazing city to walk and eat. I mean, the street food scene in Taiwan is really probably what gave it this rating. So, and it's a place that, it's so local that you've got to slow down and walk. And I think that's why it's there as well as being so safe. But Oman was on that list. As I mentioned earlier, I've recently been to Oman and Muscat, and you can see my story in the current edition of Luxury Escapes magazine Dream, and it looks gorgeous because it is.
Yeah,
but
gorgeous.
And it came out in this survey as having the most affordable options for both meals and hotel stays. But I've got to say, I'm pretty surprised about this. I don't believe that Oman is a budget destination. Like most places, except, say, Switzerland and Iceland, you can eat on the street and that's cheap. But I think what pushed it up in this survey is that it rates extremely high on the safety index, which I completely agree with. I had no hesitation in walking around alone, catching taxis, those share taxis that you often do in places like the Middle East, where 3 or more people all share the same long distance taxi, which I did. And I think, safety is so important for the solo traveller and particularly women travelling on their own.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Vitally important. Hong Kong also rated highly, and that came in with an average cost of a 1-day hotel stay at $142. I don't know who's getting a hotel room in Hong Kong for $142, but and also having inexpensive restaurants, and others in the top 5 were Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Munich.
I agree. Hong Kong is amazing because food-wise, the price of food, remembering that it is home to the cheapest Michelin star restaurants in the world. So you just got to book ahead on those ones if you can. But so that brings it up there on those ones. Yeah, okay.
And Australia actually made the list, with Canberra coming in as the 9th best city for solo travel. So it found restaurants on average cost $26.40. Very specific. I'm guessing they're going by the price of a single meal there because, what can you get for $26.40 anywhere else?
Baby, get a kebab on the street.
And nothing against Canberra, but if I'm travelling solo around Australia, it's going to be a warm island somewhere for me, or maybe the mountains of Tassie or something. But hey, each their own. And you know what all of this means? It means with solo travel on the rise that the industry will adjust and meet the needs of the solo traveller. So things like single rooms, which is obviously an issue for solo travellers, transport and experiences will all be priced accordingly. And in the end, that's basically a win-win for everyone. You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
This week, I'm chatting to Kirstie about her recent trip to lovely Sardinia and why she chose to go there, what it offers travellers, and why you should follow in her footsteps or her bicycle tracks. So, Kirstie, let's kick off. Why Sardinia?
So, Sardinia had often come up when I was researching stories, and, I was just looking at those stunning images. And I adore Italy and always have and haven't been for a ridiculously long time, embarrassingly long time. And when I found out you could actually cycle around the south of the island, because I just have this obsession with islands, I was sold. And also, as you know, I really like active holiday. So when it was biking, island, I'm done. Send me there.
I've got to say, when you said I'm going to Sardinia to Southern Europe in June, I was thinking, isn't it the hottest time of the year? Was it a good idea? I was like, Kirstie, are you sure about this one?
Well, we took the team. So I've got my oldest son has actually started uni, and the younger one's still at high school. So we had to coordinate with uni and school holidays. So and because he's just started uni and the older one's in the senior school now, I couldn't really take them out of school. So otherwise I probably would have chosen September just because, possibly because of crowds and heat. But to be honest, it had no impact at all on the experience from an overcrowded perspective in Sardinia because there are just no crowds. And we were in southern Sardinia, which is renowned as being much quieter than the north part of the island. It's actually a massive island. I had no idea how big it was. It took us like an hour to get from the airport. There are two airports, and we were in the airport in the southern part, just to drive from there to where our first bike tour was starting. And a lot of the time that we were cycling around, we were actually the only people on the road. There were quite a few cars, obviously, around the coastline. But so it's just a really beautiful part of the world and very quiet. I think more people are starting to hear about it now, but yeah, there's definitely no overcrowded problem, particularly like I said in the south. The south is just beautifully quiet, and so Rome and Barcelona was another story, but
yeah, absolutely. I wonder if it gets busier in July, August. But tell us a bit about how you get there. Like, how do you get there from Australia, and what it's like? Is it got that real Italian vibe about it, because it is a really big island, in the middle of the Mediterranean. Is it solely Italian, or does it take influences from the other countries around in the Mediterranean Sea?
So to answer the first part of that question, so we flew into Rome and we had a few days there, and then we took an internal flight to Sardinia. So it's just 1 hour flight from Rome to Sardinia. It's super easy. And we were actually on a U-Track 7-day self-guided bike tour. So I love that because I love being independent. So I wanted the self-guided part. But then we obviously had the backing of U-Tracks, the whole way. So the kids actually, I got them e-bikes, and Dave and I had normal human pedal power. So, yeah, I know. So everyone was like, why wouldn't you do it the other way around? Why would, why wouldn't you take the e-bikes? And surely you'd put the young kids on the normal bikes. But do you know
They're
what?
not that young.
Well, no, but I just, they had a blast on those e-bikes. They absolutely loved it, and I didn't want any complaining. And we were cycling a really long time. Like, you're getting back on a bike every single day for a week, and we were doing, some decent Ks. So, and Dave and I love active holidays, as I said before, so we wanted the exercise anyway. So, call us mad, but that's just the way we are. So hiking and biking are just any hiking or biking, I'm like, I put my hand up for, So Sardinia is exactly as you sort of expect if you look at any of the photos. So really stunning, those Mediterranean beaches with, gorgeous forest-clad cleave into these sort of aqua oceans and, just everything that you would expect. And rural landscapes, vineyards, medieval villages. And I was surprised to find out when we first arrived that actually it's closer to Africa than it is to Italy. And you would think that that would have an impact on how it feels and what the culture's like, but it is definitely all Italian. Like, I'm talking quaint little villages, amazing pasta and pizza, Aperol spritz just being sipped around everywhere. I mean, everywhere.
Literally.
I mean, every little town. I'm sure people were either drinking the local Sardinian beer or Aperol spritz. That's all people seem to drink. So of course, we had to join in on that. So, and they actually, Sardinia, surprisingly, also, this was another surprising factor to me, is they actually also have completely their own language. So while some Italians can obviously understand it, they can't actually always speak it. So it's a really unique island, and a stunning landscape, but completely Italian feel.
Oh, amazing. So, where did you cycle then? You said you were in the south of the island, yeah?
Yes. So when we flew in, we drove straight to another little island, which is actually connected. This island's connected to Sardinia, which is called San Antioco, and it's a gorgeous little port village. And oh my God, if you look back at some of my Instagram photos, it is just so gorgeous. We were staying.
I had to start looking, actually.
We were staying right on the water and just overlooking these gorgeous little boats bobbing. It was just stunning. And so we started there, and then so the first day of the cycle, you actually cycle to the north of that island, and then you get a ferry to another island, which I just loved so much. Like, how cool is that? You're on an island, and then you're on another island off that island, and then you get a ferry to another island. So I just love the feeling of isolation there. And what's surprising? These islands, like this island we went to called Calaforte, actually that's the name of the main town, but everyone in Sardinia calls that's how they recognise that island as Calaforte. It's actually so gorgeous. And when we got there, because it's so small and it's off an island, you would sort of expect not a lot to be there. But actually, there were just laneways, and the whole main area when we pulled in off the ferry was just lined with pizzerias, pastel-coloured houses, and again, people sipping Aperol spritz. And there were some markets out selling some local food, and you could just smell pizza everywhere. And it was just like being in an Italian movie set or something. It was so pretty and just really gorgeous. And that day, cycle day, was a really gentle way to ease us into the cycling. It sort of started off quite gently. So we just cycled around that little island, and then we jumped back on, took our bikes back on the ferry, took the ferry back again. And then so that was sort of a really easy way to, a gentle way to ease into a week of cycling, because by day 4, we were doing close to 30 kilometres, which doesn't sound much, but we had 550 metres of climbing. And anyone who doesn't cycle much and isn't sort of aware of what that means is basically, that is like steep climbing. I mean, I was on the lowest gear getting up some of those hills. It was slow going, dreaming of Aperol spritz. But all of those hills meant great views.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had to stop looking at the Instagram at that point. Of course. I mean, did they tell you, did you have a gradient chart so it told you what you'd be cycling that day? So it'd show you what your route was and things?
You knew what you were.
Did you look at it, or did you want to look at it?
Dave studied it. My husband Dave studied it quite intently. But look, I kind of just like the mystery of it. I was just all up for just jumping in and giving it a go. Because it doesn't change anything. It's not like, you're going to change your pants or anything because you're on the ground. Although I have to say, I started cycling sort of in just normal clothes, and then, I had taken some bike pants, so I did end up changing into bike pants after a few days. But But yeah, no, you
Did you
definitely
have gloves on as well, bike gloves?
I didn't, and you know what? The only reason would have been good to have the bike gloves would have been the heat. So just to protect your hands because you're cycling for a really long time.
Yeah, I think the sun protection is a really key thing on this one. So I'm guessing that was the most challenging part, that day of 550 meters of climbing. But what was the best part?
My God, I could go on for like hours, Belle, as you know, I could just literally talk for hours about this. But it was just that. Do you know what? One thing that I loved the most about it, and that sort of surprised me, was the diversity. So we started at that little island I just told you about with these, this quaint little Italian sort of village. And then we were cycling through and past these pastel-coloured houses and, calling out to the locals, calling out to us and stuff. And then we would be in another
like
day.
You're on a tour like a Giro d'Italia or something. You'd be like high-fiving everybody as you cycle past. And you didn't you? You totally did.
And then another day we'd be literally in an abandoned medieval village. It was just remarkable, like the places we went. And then we were cycling past salt ponds and Mediterranean beaches, hinterland, vineyards, and we even cycled right through the middle of a blue zone.
So that is the area where people live the longest, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, so people live the longest and have the healthiest lives. And Sardinia was actually one of the very first original blue zones, and that's an area in central Sardinia which was named a blue zone. That was the area that put Sardinia on the map as being in one of those top 5 blue zones.
Oh, okay.
But the newest area to be dubbed a blue zone is actually Tolada, and we were fortunate enough to you cycle straight through it on this U-Tracks tour. It was so cool. And so I actually was fortunate enough we had a rest day there, and I met although I cycled in to meet these centenarians. And you can read all about that, but in the upcoming issue of Signature Luxury Travel and Style, which is a story I've written all about blue zones, including meeting these incredible elderly people who live in this latest area called a blue zone.
And so they're like totally sprightly, happy, ridiculously healthy 100-year-old people wandering around everywhere.
They are.
How bizarre! It's kind of weird, isn't it? So what advice would you give anyone wanting to cycle around Sardinia?
So have a good base fitness, because you can take it at your own pace. And but as I mentioned earlier, some of the days are really hilly. And the Italians, they are actually really courteous drivers, much more courteous than Australians. Like I found, like to the point where they would sometimes go so wide to avoid us that they'd almost have a head on with a car coming the other way, which isn't even funny. But that happened a couple of times. Like they really are very courteous cyclists. That was really a nice element to have it, because you do worry about that when you're on some of those busier roads, and particularly the way that these Italians drive around in all these tiny little Fiats. They're just going nuts around these and it's all winding. It's like out of the movies. It's all like winding little streets, and so and there are some main roads. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got a base level of fitness, because there aren't always places that you can stop. So that's my point with that, is it can be challenging to just pull over. And also take things like lip balm and lots of sunscreen. But to be honest, you get pannier bags which hang off the back of the bike, and all your bags are transported to each accommodation. So there's not a lot of planning you have to worry about. Like U-Tracks, honestly, it just took care of literally everything. So, and we had those GPS apps on the bike that we talked about before that give you the gradient and tell you what you're in for. So, and you just follow the map like it's a Google map. Like you just literally turn it on and it can talk to you, and it's got a little map, and you put it on your phone, you download it so it's not using your data, and away you go.
Oh, amazing, right? So can you set the accent that you want to hear it in? So
I didn't try that.
George Clooney talking around. We totally like that. So in the end, how many, it's all about the numbers. How far did you cycle in the end, and where did you end?
We cycled in the end a little more than 210 kilometres, which over 7 days. And although we were allowed to keep the bikes an extra day because we were in Pula an extra day, so we did another sort of 10-ish K after that. But so the official bike tour, we sort of did about 210 Ks, which you know, and like I said, because a lot of it was hilly, it made it really. I mean, you know, as far as someone who's looking for an active experience holiday, and you don't want to go into it and be disappointed. You don't want to be like, well, that was a bit too easy, that was pointless, even though it would never be pointless because from a scenic perspective alone, I mean, it's just simply stunning. So, but you really do get, I felt like I got a lot out of it from a fitness perspective. I felt like it was a really good workout. And so
you don't want to be broken as well, because I've done hikes where in the end you were so broken you feel that you didn't see what you went there to see. You could be sweating your chops off anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's true. And because you can take it at your own pace, you never would be, because you can just you just start early and you just stop whenever you want. You've got all day to do it, so you just take it at whatever pace suits you and your your group or your partner or whoever you happen to be cycling with. So yeah, our tour was longer than what the itinerary actually says if anyone was to look it up, and that's because we took all the side trips. So, you know, whenever it was suggested, hey, you can go down to this little hidden beach, or we saw some ancient fort, we would just go up there. We did everything we could possibly do. I didn't want to miss anything. So that's why ours ended up being a bit longer. So the tour actually ends in what I think has to be one of Italy's prettiest towns, which is Pula, which is just gorgeous, quintessentially what you'd expect of Italy. And we were staying, where we were staying, we were literally overlooking the central town block, you know, the centre of town. Oh my God. Yeah. And so I could have just stayed there for weeks, but maybe my waist wouldn't have coped with that.
I did see a lot of pictures of pasta and pizza coming through from you. So, but surely after all of that cycling, right, tell us, did it balance out? The pizza, the pasta and the cycling, did it balance out? I
actually expected, because I had to put my jeans back on to get back to Melbourne, right? So I was thinking, and I had bought these sort of new jeans and they were a snug fit. And I was thinking, oh my God, I am not going to get these jeans on, like, to get back on the plane. But actually, even though all those Aperol Spritz and pasta, I think because we did so much cycling, like we were cycling every day, and I'm normally sitting a lot at home, right? And we weren't snacking. Like, you're eating, you have your breakfast is provided at the hotel, and then you're cycling, and then you're having a beautiful big lunch, pastas, Aperol Spritz. Oh my God, how many times can you say Aperol Spritz in one interview? And then you go out for dinner, but we weren't snacking a lot, and we were doing so much cycling. And the days that we weren't cycling around the trip, like pre and post, we were probably doing about 25,000 steps walking. So because, you're just walking around to iconic landmarks and monuments and stuff. So I did come back a little bit lighter, but, it probably won't last that way. But hey, so who says you can't have your cake and eat it too, Belle?
That is not true, because I tried to catch you 2 days after you got back and you said, I'm off to my spin class. I'm like, seriously, have you not cycled?
Yeah, I was trying to keep that momentum going.
I think you'll do it well, because it's got to be warmer in the spin class than it is outside. So where can we read more about this amazing journey?
So there'll be a full story, a feature specifically about my cycle, and that'll be out in the Australian Geographic Adventure in late September. So if you follow me on Kirstie Writes, which is Kirstie Writes, WRITES, you'll be able to know when it goes up and have a little read, and hopefully be inspired to head to Sardinia, because it's truly just one of the most remarkable places in the world I've ever been.
Our tip this week is about how you can avoid phone theft while overseas.
We've mentioned this before because Belle, sorry to bring this up again, Belle. Bringing up this little old thing again.
Bring it up.
She had her phone stolen in London in 2022. But new figures by Vodafone found Australian travellers are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on replacing and repairing their mobile phones. So according to Vodafone, more than 23% of Australians who've travelled internationally in the last 5 years had their phone lost, damaged or stolen, paid up to $500 to repair or replace their device, and more than 22% reported paying up to $250, and 21% forked out up to a staggering $1,000.
Yep. That might have been more the ballpark figure because I was replacing a fairly new Samsung. And can I just remind you that a phone is stolen in central London, one phone every 6 minutes. Every 6 minutes a phone is stolen. And they're the ones that are being reported. So while travelling overseas, those 1 in 10 of the participants' phones were reportedly pickpocketed or swiped from their hands or table, which is what happened to me in Covent Garden. So here are some of our tips so that this doesn't happen to you, because it is very, very painful. So first up, and an obvious one, don't leave your phone on a table, even for a few seconds, especially if somebody leans over from behind you, feel someone behind you. That's all it took for me. So keep it in a secure place like a zipped up bag, or keep your hand on it.
Yeah, and set up the Find My Phone function. So that will be your best chance at locating your phone in case it does go on its own solo European adventure.
Well, mine went to Bulgaria because I could track it there, but the thing is you couldn't get it back.
Oh,
yeah. And then another thing to do is to be aware and be very wary of free Wi-Fi networks. Even if you're desperate to upload your hot holiday snaps, you've got to be cautious of free Wi-Fi networks that may pose a security threat. And use a strong password and two-factor authentication. So secure your phone with PIN numbers, fingerprints or face recognition, and protect your personal identity by using strong passwords and two-step authentication on things like email, bank logins, and any other identifiers. And think bigger than 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and back up that device. So be sure to regularly back up your phone in case any mishaps do occur, to avoid losing digital memories and your contacts, and get an added layer of protection from your phone provider, because often travel insurance doesn't cover phone damage. So, for example, Vodafone's Device Care, that's the package, will fix broken screens, exchange busted devices or replace lost devices without having to give a reason. Jesus, that's good. Or fork out crazy replacement costs.
You're listening to The World Awaits. Subscribe through our website at theworldawaits.au. Next week, we're going on safari. My guest is Jacques Smith of Sabi Sabi, which is a private game reserve in the Greater Kruger National Park in South Africa. So come along for a wild ride.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear about that. And we'd love it if you could give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Click on our profile, scroll down to the bottom to ratings and reviews and hit those 5 stars. And if you're on Spotify, go to our main page and click the 3 dots underneath our photo. And if you're really up for it, listen to what we said earlier about the coffee link and, buy us a coffee or a chai latte.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirstie?
I'm at Kirstie Writes on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Writes, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.